All right, the PPP, the Payment Protection Program, it goes live. We already spoken to you about where and what to do. Namely, if you've been told by your big bank that you've done business with for many, many years to wait in line and we will hold your space, that's a signal for you to go elsewhere. This video is going to tell you where you're supposed to go. So first of all, click the like below button and subscribe and get updates as we provide them to you. All right, you want to get a PPP loan. You've tried with your big bank, you submitted your application, you haven't heard back, you're worried, you're wondering if funds are going to run out, and you don't know what to do. All right, we've already told you you're supposed to go somewhere else. We've already told you what documents to get ready. We've already told you what questions will be asked of you and that you need to answer them accordingly. This video, however, is going to tell you where you go and how you apply in multiple regards. Previously, we told you you don't do one application. You don't just apply for your big bank and wait around for them to hold your space in line, which is the scariest thing that anyone could ever tell you. While you need funds, you need this money right now. So where do you go? First of all, there are companies like Fundera, Lendio, and Cabbage with a K that will guide you through the process. Let me back up and explain to you what these different sites do and what they don't do. A lot of banks currently don't have you apply directly to them, but have you apply on websites that have created a platform, a technology, basically a website, an interface for you to provide information. And these banks use these platforms, these websites, to collect your information and then send it to them. So, Cabbage is not a bank, Lendio is not a bank, Fundera is not a bank, but they are platforms in which you submit the information and it is routed to banks that may ultimately write your loan. Okay, so there's a couple things you need to know about this. First of all, if you apply with one of these companies, like Cabbage, for example, you go to their website, you set up a username, you set up a password, and then you start to submit your information, and then it gets routed to a bank, and then they say, thank you, we've received your application. If you then find out another bank also uses Cabbage, you're a little bit screwed, because basically, unless you set up another username and password, you only do one Cabbage application. You don't do a different Cabbage application. So let's back up. There is a series of websites, and there will be in the links of this video, that will say to you, these are banks that are receiving applications currently. First of all, a couple things you need to know. One, they're receiving applications even if you don't previously have a banking relationship. Thank God. You do not have to have a previous banking relationship with them. They are still receiving PPP applications. Second of all, some of these banks are receiving businesses that are all W-9 employees, some are all W-2. So they're also receiving applications when you're an independent contractor. A lot of these banks are receiving everything. These are smaller banks, these are not big banks. Okay, so when you see these links in the article, you will be in this video, you will see where and which banks are receiving applications. You'll click on the links, and then you may be routed to either Cabbage, Lendio, or Fundera. Fundera, Lendio, and Cabbage are basically the same platform done by different businesses, different organizations, and they will ask you the same information. At that point, if you started with Cabbage for a particular bank, it will route that information to that bank. Now, if you go to another bank and find out, oh, they also use Cabbage, you're a little bit screwed, because basically you only have one Cabbage application. It's a username and a password. You go in, you submit the information, and that's it. Same with Fundera. So that if you've gone on Fundera for a particular Bank A and you submit the information for Fundera to Bank A, and then you find out, oh, Bank B also uses Fundera, what do you do? Well, one of the ways you get around is just set up a different username, a different email address, a different password, and you can submit to that other bank. But don't worry, there's enough banks for you to submit without that concern. All right. Once you submit the information in Fundera or Lendio or Cabbage, it then routes you to the bank website, perhaps, and says submit more information. And don't be worried, the information requests might be duplicative. It literally may feel like the same application you just did a second ago. So you may be on Cabbage, for example, submitting everything from EIN and start dates and how much payroll you're claiming, how much loan you want, and then it says, oh, thank you, you qualify for this particular bank, and you get routed, and then suddenly it asks you the same question again. Don't worry, that's the way it's set up. That's their interface. But Cabbage, Lendio, and Fundera are these basically platforms that send you to banks that then may ask additional information or may then say, hey, your application has been received. We're now going to review it. All right. There are other banks that are listed in the links of this video that don't use Fundera or Cabbage or Lendio. They actually process the applications through their website, through their used servers, through their platforms, through their computers. They don't use this third-party software which is Fundera, Lendio, or Cabbage. They do it themselves. All right, so those banks appear in the links below. Again, these are smaller banks. A few of them accept any type of applications currently, meaning A, you don't have to have been a previous banking customer, B, you don't have to have a business in their particular state. Now, this video will also provide you links to a couple of banks that specifically require you to do operations in their state. It may apply to you, it may not, but we're throwing in the whole kitchen sink. So with the links you see in this video, you can potentially apply to anywhere from 3 to 10 banks or more and get those applications in. Now, this is in addition to the other sites that I'm going to tell you about. They include PayPal, Intuit, Square, that are all either going to have or will or are also receiving Paycheck Protection Program applications. Of the ones I just mentioned, PayPal, as of yesterday, was still receiving brand new Paycheck Protection Program applications. How do you feel comfortable with the application process and feel that maybe you're on a path to getting approved somewhere? It's a great question, and people have been asking it. It's the responsiveness of the platform that you are applying on. There are some banks or platforms that are going to be mentioned in the links that literally will call you on the phone within half an hour of you applying, or will email you within 30 minutes and say, hey, thank you, but you're missing document A, which is a great feeling because basically at that point you feel someone's actually responding to you. Is it the best feeling to think, hey, you submit an application and you're only missing one document and you have that one document? That actually suggests to you that, hey, maybe you can get this application approved with a live person. Of the companies I've mentioned, for example, PayPal, you don't get that response. You submit the application and you get dead silence. Dead silence. Dead silence scares the hell out of you. Now, can you apply to multiple banks or multiple platforms? That was addressed in a previous video, and a lot of people have asked that question since then, responding to it now again. Yes. Of 20 to 30 lending institutions or platforms that LALATE has looked at, they have all allowed you to submit applications or haven't asked you whether you submitted applications in multiple locations. In one case, they said, hey, did you submit an application in other location? You say, yeah, I did. There's nothing precluding you from submitting multiple applications. And what happens? If you get approved by one, you contact the others and say, hey, I withdraw. You only need one approval, but it is no bank or lending institution's right to say to you, you can apply to us and we can play games with you and knock it back to you for days and days and days, and you aren't allowed to apply to anyone else, but we can keep your space in line and never respond to you. No, 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 that's not how it works. That's not how it works. You can apply at as many places as you want to apply at and hope to get the first response. And whoever gives you the first response, then you turn to everyone else and say, thank you, we are no longer interested. We got someone who responded quickly. That's the way you do business. So, what do you get from this video? A couple of things. One, links. Apply to these institutions or these platforms. Two, understand there is a duplicity of the platforms. So if you're on Cabbage for BlueVine, you might be on Lendio, or you might be on Fundera also for BlueVine, and BlueVine is a SBA lender. Don't be worried. It's that type of duplicity. Third, if you apply for Bank A on Cabbage and you want to apply for Bank B on Cabbage and you think, I already applied on Cabbage, don't worry. The worst thing that you can do is just set up another username and password with a different email address and go back into Cabbage and now apply for Bank B on Cabbage after you applied for Bank A on Cabbage. There's nothing that prevents you from doing that. Get as many applications as you can out there and get them out there ASAP. PPP goes live on Monday, the Monday of the recording of this video, and you need to get those applications out ASAP. You can't be waiting around. Finally, responsiveness is the most reassuring thing you can have in this process. If you're sitting at home, you're sitting at work, or you're somewhere around and you pull up your phone and you get an email response from Jane or John that says, thank you, we got your application and you're missing one document, that is the best news you can get, because it means there's someone responding to you that has a live email address and an actual name, and you may have that one document, and a one document request means you give them that one document, you're done. If they say, if you don't have that one document, then what? Okay, great question, and it's been asked before. If they ask you for a one document and it's not a document you by nature would ever have, for example, it's a payroll document, it's a W-2 document, and you don't have W-2 employees, you have W-9, respond to them and say, hey, this is the type of business I have. You know what will happen? The best case scenario, and it does happen, they will say, we only write for W-2 businesses who have employees and are paid W-2s. But you're a business that pays W-9s, or you're a business that's self-employed. You're a self-employed individual that files an individual tax return with a Schedule C, like an accountant. We don't write that, but here are banks that do. That's the best response you could possibly give. And they are giving those responses. They are saying, hey, we don't do that, but someone else does that for us. Someone else does that. The worst response is you get no answer, and they just say, hey, you don't qualify. Yeah, you do qualify, and as explained in the video before, you qualify, but this lending institution doesn't write for your type of business. So the end result is get a lot of applications out there, and don't worry. And finally, don't wait around for your big bank. Don't wait around for your big bank that says your space is in line. Well, congrats. My space is in line. Well, you know what? Enjoy my space in line, because what may happen is when I get the loan approved by someone else, you'll have your space in line, and guess what? They may never call you about that space in line, but you'll be on your way with a loan somewhere else. So stay with us for more. We'll continue to update you about the Paycheck Protection Program, EIDL, PPP, PUA, SBA loan, and all these wonderful things you need to know about. Stay with LALATE for more.